Hi, MS. This is Michael. Thank you for completing. It looks like this is an integrated task, speaking task number 2. So you have a campus announcement, then you have a student reacting to that announcement, right? So let's kind of see how you did with this one. Here we go.
The reading passage contains an announcement about awarding scholarships to chemists who score 90% or more due to shortage in chemists, and the speaker in the lecture disagrees with the change. First of all, the reading passage explains that this change should allow chemists to afford tuition costs. In addition, chemists should be motivated to study harder after this change. Second of all, the speaker in the passage disagrees with the change. She states that what needs attention from the school is the outdated equipment in the facility. She says she cannot get a good career in the future or reputable position if she only gets training on these dated machines. Moreover, she said that the school should spend money on current students, not new students. Even if current students do not get 90% or more, they still put in effort, and that they should receive bonus or something. These are the two reasons why the speaker believes this isn't a good idea.
That's a pretty good summary. I like how you have that final sentence at the end that kind of sums up uh, the the student's reaction to the announcement. So as far as I can tell, I think it's pretty good. I'm going to listen to it one more time more slowly, and I'll give you feedback as I go from the intro to the body to the conclusion. But I'm thinking you're probably right around 3.5 across the board, I think, in all of these areas here. So delivery, no major problems. There might be one or two sketchy areas in there I couldn't quite understand, but for the most part, I think that's strong. You had good control of your language use, topic development, and particularly with the topic development, I like your use of transition words to help create a cohesive kind of flow to your ideas. So I think that's very effective. So good job on that. Okay, let's go one more time.
The reading passage contains an announcement about awarding scholarships to chemists who score 90% or more.
They're about awarding, ding. So review your use of the T and the D consonant sounds, right? If you go over to my speaking course and you go to the pronunciation section, you might go to the videos that review the T and the D consonant sounds. I think that would be helpful for you. So awarding.
Due to shortage in chemists, and the speaker in the lecture disagrees with the change.
Okay.
First of all, the reading passage explains that this change should allow chemists to afford tuition costs. In addition, chemists should be motivated.
It should something about tuition costs. I got to go back on that. Give me a quick second.
Speaker in the lecture disagrees with the change. First of all, the reading passage explains that this change should allow chemists to afford tuition costs. In addition, chemists should be motivated.
Should allow chemists to, are you saying lower tuition costs?
In addition, chemists should be motivated to study harder after this change. Should allow chemists to afford tuition costs. In addition, chemists should be motivated to study harder after this change. Second of all, the speaker in the passage disagrees.
Maybe after this change, or how about after implementing this new policy? That might even be better if you want to show a little bit better control over your languages. So after implementing this new policy. So find ways to put some college level type vocabulary into the response. That's always a good thing.
With the change. She states that what needs attention from the school is the outdated equipment in the facility.
Wow. What needs attention is you're using a noun clause as the subject of that sentence. That's definitely good syntactic variety. It's showing good control, I think, over your grammar structures.
She says she cannot get a good
Yeah, I like how you're using present tense reporting verbs to explain the information. That's good.
career in the future or reputable position if she only gets.
Wait a minute. I didn't quite get that. So delivery score is going down a little bit. There's a few words in
Or
there.
reputable position if she only get training on the a good career in the future or reputable position if.
That. If anybody knows at YouTube what she just said, put it in the comments below. That I'm having trouble with that. I've listened to it a couple of times. I'm still not exactly sure what you said there.
She only get training on these dated machines.
She only gets training. It's almost like a CH sound with that T there. Training.
Moreover,
Yeah, I like your use of the word moreover to add to what you've already said. So you definitely are connecting things very well.
said that the school should spend money.
Now, wait a minute. She says or said that.
Moreover, she said that.
Now, you don't want to switch. Before you're using present tense reporting verbs, you don't now want to go to past tense reporting verbs. That hurts the unity of your response. So any type of random verb tense shifting from one party response to the other, that's a language use problem. So be careful about that.
The school should spend money on current students, not new students. Even if current students do not get 90% or more, they still put in effort, and that they should receive bonus or something. These are the two reasons why the speaker believes this isn't a good idea.
Now I like the very ending of it. That was good. Okay, so on the second time I've listened to it, you did have a few problems with delivery. So speech is generally clear with some fluidity of expression, though minor difficulties with pronunciation, tone, or pacing are noticeable. I'm going to say it looks like I have to kind of readjust and say you're probably between 3 and 3.5, not 3.5 to 4 on that. So I think that's an area that's going to bring down the score just a bit. Okay, what else? I think topic development, I'm going to say 3.5 to 4. That's very high. Language use was also strong. You had some minor problems. You had a verb tense shift. You went from says to said. And make sure that you have a variety of reporting verbs in there so you're not using the same ones all the time. Right? So how about this? Let me go back to this for a minute. So how about this? Let's see what we can come up with here. Okay, make sure that you have a list like this. So I just got one pretty quickly through chat, right? So reporting verbs for explaining or describing. So things like explains, describes, outlines. Notice how they're all present tense, third person present singular. You have reporting verbs for arguing or making a claim, argues, claims, emphasizes, points out. Reporting verbs. Wow, chat's on steroids today. Wow. Comparing, contrasting, or refuting. It's a good idea to have a list like this. And when you're practicing your TOEFL speaking, you're practicing using these kinds of verbs as you explain the information. How about 4, showing cause, effect, and so on. Citing evidence or referring to research there. You can. So this is more than you need right here. Now let's review the pronunciation of the T versus the D alveolar consonants, right? I want to make sure you don't have too much trouble with this. Review the pronunciation of the T and the D alveolar consonants. Let's take a look at this. Now, before I forget, though, I get so deep into giving you feedback here, I forget really what I was doing in the first place. So what is your score here? Let's get down to that. So I think that you're probably a little bit weak. There's a few delivery issues with this speech, and there were maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3 words in there I wasn't quite sure about. So I'm going to put you about the same as I did the other day. I'm going to say about 24 to 26 points on this. I think if you didn't get 26, maybe because of some minor problems with delivery. Okay, let's take a look at this for a minute. So the T and the D are alveolar stops. So they're produced when the tongue is briefly touches the alveolar ridge, the bumpy area right behind your upper front teeth. So, and the main difference is what's called voicing. So we have 2 kinds of consonant sounds in American English. Some of them are produced when the vocal folds in the throat are kind of held together. They create a vibration, as in the D sound. But when the vocal folds are held apart and the air flows through freely, kind of like if you blow up a balloon and you let the air go freely through the neck of the balloon, it's. But if you squeeze the neck as the air goes through, it makes a screeching noise. Very annoying, right? So the T is a voiceless consonant and the D is a voice consonant. That's key. So let's look at the differences here, and I kind of explained that. Okay, practice these with me here. Minimal pairs are good ways to practice these. So repeat this: tie, die, team, deem, to, do, taught, dot, try, dry, tore, door. So it says practice tip. Put your fingers on your throat. If you feel vibration, you're producing the D, not the T. Okay, that's good enough there. Okay, so I think I have it. So I gave you a score between about 24 to 26 points out of 30. So remember, when you're dealing with words that have they're multisyllabic words, right? There's challenges when you're pronouncing longer words, and that's where you had some communication breakdown in this response. So longer words, you want to make sure you're pronouncing all the syllables clearly. That's the first important point. Now, the second point is, in one of those syllables, it's what we call a stressed syllable. You need to make that stressed syllable clearer, louder, longer, and higher pitched. So make sure you pay attention when you practice. You're practicing pronunciation maybe 10 minutes a day. Practice with some of the longer words and make sure you're pronouncing all the syllables, and then you're pronouncing one of those syllables with what we call primary stress. All right, and thank you for completing this practice test.